All right, this is actually take 2 of the intro. I'm live on location today. I haven't done this to this extent before. Yeah. So, camera angles, sound and everything. I'm like, it's not my home field advantage today.
You did a great job.
Thanks, Faraj. Thank you. And there you heard him. I'm here at Transcend Dental with Dr. Faraj Edher. Let's just get into it, sir. So we started chatting. We got 2 minutes in and we aborted. We're back to it. It's been 2 years. The anniversary's just passed 3 months ago. It's been a whirlwind, you've said.
Yeah.
So what, top of mind, what pops out as sort of, let's start on the challenges. Like what did you sort of face in those first 2 years that that is noteworthy?
Thinking back on the 2 years, I'd say sticking to the plan has sometimes been more of a challenge, especially in the sense of the administrative systems and making sure that, sometimes it feels like it's easier to just say, just let it be and let things fall where they fall, and just sticking to the plan of making sure that everything's well structured, systematic. Building a solid foundation is how I constantly think of it. Mm-hmm. It requires a lot of initial work, and through this whirlwind it becomes sometimes appealing to just ignore that side of things and just let things be. So
a little bit of just evolution, right?
Yeah,
things kind of fly at you and unperceived things. You've been you're crazy busy, right? You've got BC Study Club. It's been 5 years since that's begun as well.
Mm-hmm.
How are things going on that front? I see there's all sorts of new things happening. You got a website going.
Yeah, no, it's been amazing. The community we've built at the BC Dental Study Club is probably something I'm the most proud of. Over the past 5 years, it's gone from, I remember a webinar with maybe 2-3 people on, to now 2,500 members. So
that's crazy.
A pretty big study club, pretty big community, and the coming together of that community and the type of support that we now see, and just getting to see familiar faces where, we've been seeing each other for these past 5 years on a somewhat regular basis. It's just really nice. And then from an educational perspective, we've really upped it in terms of what we do. So this year we're doing, I think, 25 plus hands-on workshops. We've launched our full year implant curriculum, which we started this year as well. We're in the process of actually finalizing a space to build out an educational facility for the study club, that we can do more there. So that's been really cool.
So you're not gonna have enough time to practice. What's sort of the
schedule?
The end game there? Where are you getting pulled to these days?
Yeah, no, I definitely want to continue practicing for the foreseeable future. And the reason being, I feel like that's a must to be a good educator.
Sure.
It's especially if I'm educating on the things I talk about, which is a lot of times clinical dentistry. I have to do it, and I have to be up to date on how it's best done, what the evidence is, what the technology is about. So, and I just love it. I truly love the procedures that I get to do. And I think what I've tried to do to time manage is I try to focus a lot more on doing clinical dentistry with procedures that I very much enjoy doing, and trying to minimize doing other things that I don't enjoy as much from a clinical perspective.
Yeah.
But I still see patients at least 3 to 4 days a week.
Yeah. So that's specialized dentistry, right? You've really kind of honed in and marketed yourself as, what you're doing, right?
Yeah, even within the specialty, obviously I'm a prosthodontist, so even within prosto, there's so much that you can do and so many different procedures. So even within the specialty, I'm trying to find the things that I think I'm enjoying the most, which ultimately means I become better at, and then focus on those and allow for time to do other things.
And
as well.
What are those things, Faraj?
My two, it's
well, there's two, maybe three, there's maybe five.
Yeah. I'd say definitely full mouth reconstructions. To me, that's life-changing for patients, and I just love the process. And we've got a pretty nailed down system for doing these full mouth reconstructions for patients. and then getting to see that final outcome within a few, weeks, maybe a couple months, is amazing. Smile makeovers is still something that I very much enjoy because it requires so much detail. It's so easy for smile makeovers to actually somewhat make things worse than better. So it requires a lot of attention to detail, which is something that's stressful, but the type of stress that I enjoy.
Yeah.
And third, I would say, is probably implant reconstructions.
Yeah.
I still very much enjoy implant reconstructions, whether it's a single anterior tooth, where again you have to be very specific as to how you do it to get the optimal aesthetic outcomes, or the more complex implant reconstructions.
Yeah, you like those slam dunkers, like the game changers for somebody, like the life-changing stuff that, obviously following your Instagram and your social media. It's the stories, right? You're changing lives. That's meaningful work, right?
Yeah, it's super rewarding. It really is. Like,
Yeah.
even when you get patients that aren't necessarily the type that share that with you,
Yeah.
where they're gonna necessarily like start crying or even like openly communicating how impactful it is, you see it.
Yeah.
So even with those patients that don't necessarily say it, you see it as you follow them over time after completing these treatments, where their personality transforms.
Yeah.
They come back as like much more confident people. They start to talk to you about how their career's taken off or their relationships have taken off, and that's a very, very rewarding part of it, just to have had a little part in that journey for them,
cool.
right? Yeah.
And I guess, by nature, like you're handling challenges, right? You're getting referrals and things. That's fun. I would imagine that's a lot of fun.
I love it. Yeah. I love it. I genuinely mean this when I say a lot of people will hear this and think I'm saying it for the podcast, but I genuinely mean it. I say this to our team as well, and they see it. I think that I genuinely enjoy challenges and I enjoy stressful situations because to me it's almost like a game where it's like the more challenging it is, the next level's unlocked, right? So I enjoy the challenges of whether it's clinical stuff or just day-to-day stuff, operational stuff. Yeah.
You're a water guy, obviously, right? You've talked about this before, but what are you doing to just chill out, like spend some time, just relaxing? This
morning before heading over to meet you here, because I'm not seeing patients today, I just had a jiu-jitsu training. Yeah. So
how long have you been doing that?
I think approaching maybe 4 to 6 months or so, doing it like consistently, and I love it. I love it. It's like there's no way you can think of anything other than what you're doing, so you disconnect from it all. Yeah. And then jiu-jitsu as a martial art is a very strategic game. So have you ever done or tried?
I've watched. I've always I've wanted to join something. It's cool. Just you're probably an MMA fan too, watching UFC. Just the things, like it's very technical. I think, and the deeper you get into it, the more you realize like it's a puzzle, right, on the ground with humans.
And it's made me love watching UFC even more. Because before you'd kind of think, okay, what are they doing? You don't really understand it, but there's some thought behind it. Yeah. Because you see the good guys and what they do.
And they're athletes, man.
Oh yeah.
To do that for, especially those like title fights where they're 5 rounds, like that's. Like I think of like GSP and things like that. Those guys are like machines to do that stuff. Yeah.
It's amazing.
What else? Like, is there a lot of travel right now for work? I know you've been like back and forth, like Dubai seems to be the common spot. Like, what's sort of the latest and greatest on that front?
So I haven't been to Dubai for educational purposes actually since 2020. So I kind of stopped that at that time. I've been trying to be very intentional this year of like minimizing my time away because of so much that's happening here. What do I have planned in terms of travel? I'm going to be at the ODA in Ontario, the Ontario Dental Association meeting. I'm speaking there, and then I've tied that with a UFC event in Montreal.
Oh, sweet.
It's happening the same weekend. So I'm going to speak at the ODA and then head over to Montreal and watch the UFC.
What was more of the draw? No, we want to...
I had signed the ODA agreement before the UFC,
Trying to throw you under the bus. That's cool. What's the card? Who's fighting in that one?
Bilal Muhammad, and he's defending the welterweight belt.
Oh, that'll be good. Yeah. And Montreal's fun.
Oh yeah,
that's
it's
a cool
always
city.
A good time,
Oh, Toronto's all right too.
Toronto's good. Yeah,
They
yeah.
think
My
they're
brother's there too, so I'll get to see him and his family. And
the center of the world.
Yeah.
So there's been some changes to the the BC Study Club. There's a website now. Like you've upgraded sort of that digital format. Like you've got a space coming along. You're talking about that. How cool is our local community? PDC just happened. This will air like probably in May at some point. But we're so fortunate with just everybody locally. I think like you've traveled abroad. You've taught everywhere. What could you say to our local community, like here, especially here in Vancouver? We'll say maybe even Alberta. We'll loop Manitoba and Winnipeg into that, but there's some talented and passionate people here.
Oh yeah. I think we've got a great dental community. I genuinely mean that, because contrary to what you hear when you just listen superficially, because sometimes honestly when you listen superficially about what the dental community is like, you hear about how competitive it is and how everyone's like just looking out for themselves, and I haven't seen that in reality. What I've actually seen in reality is once you get to know people, once you create that community, especially through our study club, like what I experience day to day, everyone's extremely supportive and wanting others to do well and wanting to share what challenges they've gone through so that maybe someone else can avoid them. And that's pretty amazing. And then we also have some like very talented clinicians, some very talented educators.
Absolutely,
so it's I think we lucked out.
That's a good area. Now that you're trailblazing here, like people are watching you, right? Not tooting your horn, but you have some followers out there, especially when it comes to the time you spent putting your brand together and things. How do you feel about like people sort of following in that, like their clinics, maybe they're borrowing some of your creation? How do you feel about that? Does that bother you? Are you flattered by that?
I'm very flattered by it. I'm very flattered by it. Again, like when I look back at notes that I used to write 4 or 5 years ago when I was first starting to think of this concept, one of the main things that started all this was to play a small role in elevating dentistry locally, right? And then hopefully being able to elevate it beyond just local. So to me, that's a part of it. It's like if there's anything that I was able to do, it's probably that I was inspired by someone else at some point. There's very few things that are purely original ideas that I've come up with. And if what we've done here at Transcend can be a source of inspiration for anyone to do dentistry the way they love and ultimately allows them to better care for their patients, then what a better win-win situation. There's no better win-win situation.
Even like clinically too, right? Like you're a teacher, right? So.
Yeah, clinically, I think what we've done uniquely here at Transcend, which I kind of see happening more often, is really focusing on the patient experience. And that's just a great thing. Regardless of who does it, that's a great thing. You're going to ultimately be able to provide better patient care if you can provide a better patient experience and augment that, of course, with great clinical dentistry. So I'm flattered, really.
And like you nailed it. Like everything I think should be pivoted towards how does that impact the patient. At the end of the day, that's the end user of the product that is the dental industry, right?
Exactly.
So how do you feel about corporate franchise situations? How do you think they're doing? The dental corps, the 123s. What kind of impact do you think they have on our industry?
I'm not too well versed on things, honestly. Like I try to stay in my lane and focus on the things that I'm doing, so I don't fully delve into what anyone else is doing much. But my take on just corporate dentistry in general is I think just like any dentistry, there's probably going to be excellent examples of that, and then there's going to be poor examples of that. And I think back to what you said perfectly, which is if it's all tied back to ultimately are we caring for patients well, then good for them. Good for anyone who is impacting the industry in a way where ultimately we're providing better patient care.
Are they engaging you with BC Study Club?
We get a lot of dentists that are in different corporations in terms of like working out of their clinics or partnered with them in their clinics. So
it's always it's an interesting concept to me, because like by nature they have their own community, right? Like they've got a built-in default community. So I'm always interested in how they like interact outside of that.
My interactions, like for example, we've partnered on some events with Dental Corp Institute, which is the educational aspect of the Dental Corp corporation. And that's been a great experience, because we even have the chief dental officer, Dr. Glassman. He's coming to Vancouver to do a endodontic program for our study club. So I mean, when these types of corporations are spending the time and effort to educate their community, educate their members, especially educating maybe newer associates that are fresher out of school, and having the incentive both for a growth perspective, but then also to provide patients with outstanding care, like that's an excellent thing. So I think they do a pretty good job with that. And my experience getting to work with corporations in general has been good, because ultimately we're only going to work together if we align on certain things. And when it comes to dental education, our entire purpose is how can we provide dentists with evidence-based, high-quality education that is also practical. That's kind of what our overarching umbrella for Study Club, BC Dental Study Club is like, sure, we want to give people great education, world-class education, so show them amazing things, but at the same time I want to make sure that they're taking away from it something that is practical, that helps them do something different to better treat their patients.
Love it. You're such an outward guy. Like, you're such a giving energy outward guy. Where are you getting your inspiration from? Is that from your travels? Is that from your colleagues in your specialty, in your niche? Where are you drawing your sort of your creative energy from?
It's a really good questions today.
Making
me dig deep.
I might have done a couple of these, Raj.
So since I would say over 12 to 13 years ago, I had an experience that really honed in what my fulfillment comes from. Because I think what you're asking pretty much is, like, where do I get my drive or fulfillment for all these things that I'm doing? And very early on, what I've realized is, for me, the thing that drives me is feeling like I'm making a difference. That's it. It comes down to that. I see that in the dentistry I do. I see that in the education I do. I see that in the operational stuff that I do. It's what am I doing to hopefully make a difference, and hopefully make that difference be a positive impact on things. And as long as I'm seeing that trajectory, and as long as I'm seeing that path where what I'm doing today, the work that I'm putting in, the outwardly stuff that I'm giving, if it's contributing to accomplishing that, which is to make a positive difference to others, that's what drives me. That's kind of what wakes me, where I wake up in the morning excited to do the stuff I do, because I'm like, okay, that's one step closer to making an even bigger difference, and then one step closer to, and it's a never-ending chase.
What's your thought process as in, to me, that's you're taking yourself out of the moment and looking at big picture. What do you do mentally to get there? That's a tough thing for people with I think, in my perception is, we get thrown into this like horse blinder day to day thing. How do you remove the emotion sometimes too, is a huge part of it. What do you do to stay on track? Like, what are you doing to stay on the road?
Number one is perspective for me. Like, I always try to put things in perspective, and I always try to not judge myself, if that makes sense. Where it's like, if I've had an off day, I've had an off day. Like, it's not a big deal. I'm a human being. I'm not always going to be perfect at how I react to things or do things. So taking it a little bit easy on myself in terms of like not judging myself for just being a human being. But then being able to quickly shift from that to, okay, well, what actually matters here? What's the bigger perspective? What's the bigger goal? So being able to always tie my decisions to a bigger picture and the overall purpose of most of the stuff that I'm doing is, I think, what helps me make decisions leading towards that future, as opposed to maybe more emotional or irrational decisions based on how I'm feeling today, or how that one conversation with a team member went, or whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm. What's the big, like, what would you say? This is a pretty broad question, but what's the biggest lesson you've learned? I would say career-wise, like in this road. What sort of what's informed sort of your maybe even like a top three, your like badge of honor, almost like lesson. That might be a tough one to answer.
Let me think about it.
I'm throwing it at you.
Yeah. So biggest lessons that I've learned from a career perspective.
Maybe this is something that you're gonna tell, a student that's getting into it.
From a clinical dentistry perspective?
Sure. Or just a career in general.
Yeah.
You've had a lot of success, right? So people will naturally want to maybe mimic that or learn from you. What would you impart sort of to a student that's getting into it, just getting super green, if you can give them 3 tips?
Yeah. First one would be, you have to like what you do. I genuinely believe that, because the only way for you to, especially in our field, the only way to keep up with everything and continue to excel both your hand skills, clinical skills, all of the other things you need to know, if you don't enjoy it, then it's just going to be such a strain and you won't do it. And then that's one aspect. So make sure you're actually enjoying the things that you do. The second thing I would say is learn how to communicate. That's extremely important for our profession. And if you ask me again, my career is not just as a clinical dentist, right? I'm also a speaker, I'm an educator, I run our lab, I run the study club, so there's several different things that I'm involved in.
You're an octopus.
Sure, yeah. And there's one common theme to that. There's a common body to the arms of the octopus, and that one of those things is communication, right? So learning how to communicate with others is such an important skill that requires us understanding that our sole way of communicating is not the right way. And I think that's a general statement that can be made about everyone. We all have our unique ways of communicating, and that doesn't mean they're wrong, but they're certainly not right for everyone we communicate with. So we have to learn how to communicate with empathy. And for younger, let's say, people in their careers, getting started into clinical dentistry, that's extremely important for how we communicate with patients. Being able to communicate with them in a way that they'll resonate with, and not just what we think is the best way to say something or explain it, is extremely important. But then if you start getting into having your own clinic, managing team members, working on larger projects that require a lot of collaboration, you'll realize that those same communication skills are crucial for being able to do things correctly, because at the end of the day, we're dealing with human beings, and our way of dealing with human beings is through communication. So learning how to communicate, and that's something that takes intentional effort and practice.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. That's very well put. What would you say to ego? There's some big ego out there. Does that get in the way of that? Is that a hurdle for hurdle for connection?
And I like the way your mind thinks, because I like how you've tied that question to what I was just saying. Because as I was saying that, I thought of ego. Yeah. I thought of ego, because 100% when I said that the way that you communicate is not always going to be the right way, that is ego. Yeah. Right. That is purely ego, and it's not a bad thing. I don't think ego is a bad thing, but it certainly is a hindrance to growth. Yeah. Right? It's not, if you're not willing to let go of certain aspects of the ego, then you're going to reach a cap of growth much quicker than if you are able to let go of the ego and just let things be, and understand that you're constantly learning, improving, not always right, things that you need to do better. That unlocks a lot more potential for growth.
Humility.
Yeah.
Is that tough sometimes? Because there's a lot of folks out there doing some really cool stuff. Where does that come from, do you think? Where does the ego come from?
Well, if we delve into things philosophically, the ego is really just ourselves trying to protect ourselves.
Sure.
That's what it is, right?
Yeah.
Like our ego is there for us to try to protect ourselves from things that we see as potential threats or harm. And I'm sure there's a lot of elements to that, probably childhood experiences that we've gone through, things we've been told by others, things that we've seen from others that may have mirrored onto how we think that human behavior needs to be. And then I think a part of ego is just stubbornness, like just being stubborn in, this is the way I do it and this is the way I'll always do it. And I'm guilty of that too, honestly.
Sure. Yeah.
There's definitely parts of my personality that I know can be better, but I'm just stubborn to the fact that, yep, they could be better, but this part I'm keeping.
Yeah, sure.
Right?
And I think that's okay, right?
Yeah, it's okay. It probably, I'll still be consistent and say it probably caps my growth.
But you're looking at things from more of like an evidence-based. They're the way that they are because you've seen sort of the same result over and over again. So that's something to be confident about. I think that's where you base your ego. Would that be a good assessment?
So repeat that to me.
So you're looking at your stubbornness in something might come from the fact that you know the outcome.
Yeah, sure, in some scenarios, but what I'm saying is there's probably parts of my personality that my ego holds onto just because I'm stubborn.
Sure.
So an example of that, I'll give you like a very clear example, and you can ask my team and they'll agree. I have a tendency to come to conclusions very, very quickly, which leads to me sometimes interrupting and reacting quickly.
Do you think that comes from you trying to be like efficient in your time?
100%.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm saying, but I also understand that what we were talking about, which is the fact that the way that you perceive things is not always the right way. So just because I'm thinking I'm being more efficient, well, this probably makes certain people communicating with me think that I'm being short or upset when I'm not. So that's a flaw. But that's one that I'm being stubborn about. And that's just the way I am. Again, like I'm not going to be perfect, but at least I'm self-aware of where I am and I'm able to warn people. So I tell my team members very early on, listen, if you feel like I'm responding in this like super analytical, quick way, it is because like I'm trying to get through as many things as possible, as efficiently as possible. And it's not necessarily because I'm being an a-hole, right? Yeah. So, and I preemptively warn them at least for that aspect of things. And then we are able to get along because then when I do communicate a certain way with them, they're perceiving it for what it is, where my intentions are good. My intentions aren't that I want to interrupt or that I want to move things quicker than they feel comfortable. It's more so they're understanding my perspective, and I try to do the same in return, where everyone I communicate with probably has communication flaws, and I just understand that's the way this person communicates. So
we're human. Yeah.
Our intentions, as long as our intentions are good.
Yeah, right.
Right? Because people can communicate and actually have bad intentions, where they do want to talk down to you, or they do want to make you feel less than how you should. That's very different, right? Because if someone's intentions are bad, then we're not getting along.
Yeah. I've got a good radar for that stuff, man.
Yeah.
What's your ritual in focus, right? Staying, it's like your morning, waking up, like what's your zen? You like to go there. I know you do.
Yeah. This will probably be surprising to you. I don't have any rituals.
Yeah.
I've thought about it many times, and I've set goals multiple times to create rituals. I've never been successful at doing them.
Yeah.
So I literally wake up. If I've got any training to do, then I'll do my training. If I don't have training, then I'm here. I try to get whatever's heaviest on my list of responsibilities done as early as possible, because that's where I find that I'm the most efficient and the most productive. Mm-hmm. And my general way of approaching work is prioritizing. I'm constantly prioritizing, and I think that's just the nature of anyone that has a lot on their plate to be able to efficiently do all of those things. It's you're constantly prioritizing and reprioritizing based on new data that comes in.
Sure.
So something might have been 10th on my list of priorities, but then something might happen that pushes it up to number 1.
Yeah.
So on the go, you're constantly trying to prioritize things. To be very honest with you, like, I very much enjoy all of the things that I do. That, like, this is my zen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's a great answer.
It really is. I don't feel the need to, breathe and live in the moment, because I feel like I'm enjoying this, so I'm good. I'm good. And I also enjoy the time that I spend with family, and I enjoy the time I spend with friends, and I enjoy the time that I travel and have fun. But like, at the times where I'm focused on certain things, because your question was like about focus. If I'm focused on something and I enjoy it, then to me, I'm good to do it. I don't need to kind of take breaks. I don't need to find other things to clear my mind. The problem is finding time to do things that you don't enjoy. Right. Because you've got to do that too. Right. There's a bunch of things I have to do every single day that I hate doing. An example is writing letters. Oh boy. So to anyone listening to this, especially my friends and referring dentists that I have to write letters to, I hate doing it.
Why aren't you using ChatGPT to do that?
I do use some AI tools. We have to be careful with them for patient stuff, because of like patient privacy aspects and things like that. But especially for pros and what I do, it's like so tailored to the patient that it's very difficult to program some sort of algorithm or program a template on it.
This is what you're going to do. You're going to use a singular prompt for that. Get ChatGPT, the paid version.
Yeah, I've got that.
And just build a profile based on, like, input all the data into it. And make it pull from that.
That's exactly what I do.
You do it already?
That's what I do. But it still takes time.
Sure.
Because I've got to review, like, you've got to review it line by line.
Okay.
Because what do they call it? AI, it's when, like, it makes stuff up.
It's like it's a master bullshitter, we'll just say. You have to watch. You do have to watch
that, especially for this, where like someone might be making a decision as to which tooth to extract based on this letter that I send. Right. So I have to make sure that AI hasn't randomly made something up, because it does happen probably like 1 out of 20 times. Yeah. But that means that I still have to read every single word that's put in.
Yeah, fair. But it's a tool.
It's an amazing tool.
It's a pretty sweet
tool. It's
tool.
taken away our other, because before this, like before utilizing AI tools, and I use AI on an hourly basis. I'm not even going to say a daily basis. On an hourly basis, I'm utilizing AI tools.
I'll say me too. Yeah.
It's completely changed things in terms of how we used to do it, because before it would be like our team would have to draft these letters, and then I'd still have to review them and change them, and then they'd have to review it after me to make sure I didn't make any like spelling or grammar mistakes, and then they get sent out. Now, there's still definitely a part that I have to do, but it's like so much more efficient because of these tools.
It's unreal, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's my segue. What else are you using? AI for? Is there any diagnostic tools that you're using?
Yeah, so AI is, like, from a clinical dentistry perspective, AI is in our intraoral scanners to allow us to take more accurate scans, right? To know what a tongue is versus what a cheek is, and be able to capture things in a more accurate way. When we talk about implant planning, there's some amazing tools that are being done where now AI will like automatically mark the nerves for you. It'll automatically place the implant where it thinks is best, which is scary, kind of how good it is sometimes.
That's amazing.
There's like radiographic analysis AI tools to like pick up on certain things in radiographs that you might have missed, or at least prompt you to look at them. So that's from like a clinical dentistry perspective. Smile design, of course. Our lab can use AI quite a bit in terms of like simple designs and things like that. But then where I find it to be even more beneficial to me personally, it's from an operational perspective. Like AI is like a super executive assistant.
That's exactly how I see it.
It's like a super team of executive assistants.
Exactly. And
thinking through ideas, like right now, even just exploring for negotiating a space for our study club. AI has been extremely helpful for me in terms of like, here are my thoughts. What do I actually need? What should I focus on when it comes to what I'm looking for? What should I be negotiating more on? What does the current real estate climate look like to allow me to make certain decisions? Like, you've expert in unlimited fields there to answer your questions. I'm finding that I'm like gravitating more away from my information queries in Google and more GPT. Like it just curates things so beautifully for you. And even like you ask for the articles as well to back up the information too, right? It's what a time we live in, man. And I know you guys on Dentists and On Demand are helping a lot of people with marketing and like
Yeah.
all that stuff. So you can imagine what that's going to do from a marketing perspective.
Yeah.
And this is kind of what I'm starting to think about, and I'd love to hear your thoughts if you have any on it, because what you're saying is you and I are already minimizing our use of search engines like Google, which means like, is all of this effort, and it's definitely not there yet, but I mean in the future, you know how we're so focused on SEO and Google Ads? That's everyone's bread and butter. Probably not going to be the case very much longer.
100%. And there's been articles that have come out of universities like Harvard, where look at all this cameras, like the storytelling, the organic feeling stuff. Will always, like the TV commercial has always been the most powerful form of marketing. So, you know, Dentists on Demand, our primary bread and butter business is going and shooting a high quality storytelling video and using that video on Meta, and using Meta's like crazy awesome demographic tools to target. And it works like a hot damn. And Google's getting more expensive, right? And there's all sorts of folks out there like you and I that we're not using Google anymore.
That's right.
The information that's curated from a ChatGPT prompt saves me time.
Of course.
You know, there's no like the rabbit hole that you have to go through with Google. Google's going to obviously give you high quality information, but ChatGPT kind of gives you that, but more. It's more like targeted.
It's tailored
to your prompt.
Question,
and especially if the deeper you go into your prompting, like I have profiles built for everything. I've got profile for every client, for every thought, like every project that I'm working on. I start a profile on that, and it just pulls from that. And the more you input into that,
the better it gets.
The more tailored it gets. And you like, that's where it's going. Like, it's going to be really interesting because SEO and Google and that, you know, search engine optimization has been key. Like, what does that mean for websites and things like that? Now it means let's put more video on that website. Let's put more quality content on that website, because, you know, what we're also going to face is like this computer engine, like generated imagery and video. You see it all over social media,
That's right?
right?
You don't know it's real or not.
You're flipping through, and it's going to get better and better and better. So the more genuine, the more organic the piece of content feels. It's all about trust, right? If you want somebody to come in here and do like a full arch case, they better bloody well trust you, right? So that's just in like first them getting to know you on a high quality video where you're telling your story. There's no smoke and mirrors. You're not. Not about the sale, you know. And it's really interesting with the whole marketing in the dental industry right now. Everybody's kind of focused on building their Invisalign portlet, right? Like it's like it's $1,500 off, you know, and like tooth whitening for life kind of deal. It just, I don't know. That's not our type of client. I'd rather get to know the team and the people that are performing, you know, on a GP level, right? We'll talk about that. It's all about like, why should they keep coming back, you know? Dentistry has always been about like having a dentist for 20, 30 years. And you're going back to their practice and they're looking at the fillings that they did when you're a teenager. That's dentistry to me, not this like sale.
In and out.
But I get it, right? Everybody like is looking at themselves in the mirror. They're, you know, it's such an important piece.
Which is like when you explain it the way you've explained it, it's you're in the branding business, not the marketing business.
In the branding business.
Which branding is the goal.
Branding and awareness.
Yeah.
Those two. Yeah.
And branding, I think, turns a lot of people off. The term brand turns a lot of people off, but like the equal word, the synonym, is that the right word?
Sure.
The synonym to branding is reputation. Right? So building a brand is just sharing your reputation, raising awareness to your reputation.
And like if you have folks out there searching for your service, it's all about connection and trust. So by kind of crafting that story and being like, there's no, it's not manufactured. I kind of try and stay away from scripting, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because if you have to script, you're kind of like manufacturing your story, I feel. So I'll go in and I'll sit with somebody and I'll really like, it's all about, I'll ask, it'll be like an interview just like this.
Yeah.
I'll put the camera on. We're going to get 30 seconds worth of material, but I'll shoot for an hour.
To get that right 30 seconds.
Yeah. And there's some beautiful, like, it's always when it comes out, it's like, I cheer usually. And like, what's your problem, Mark?
Yeah, but I think like going back to your point about the movement towards like the quick sort of marketing, which marketing is equivalent to sales almost.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, 1,500 off plus free whitening, come in for your Invisalign, in and out, transaction done. Obviously, the appeal to that is that it's immediate.
Yes.
So it's like if you put out a good marketing campaign, you'll immediately see patients come in, which means you'll immediately see whatever you're looking for in terms of business growth.
Yeah.
But it's such a, it's unsustainable forever, right?
Because how do you build a dental, like
Exactly.
a GP practice? It's the hygiene, right?
Yeah. Through hygiene and just in general, like if you're constantly, the ultimate goal is for you to build brand where your customer acquisition cost is 0.
100%.
Right? Where that's it. Like
Yeah.
when someone's looking for a certain type of service, you've built a brand where they're like, that's the place to go.
Yeah.
So now your customer acquisition cost is 0. The problem though, the thing that I think makes it very challenging to a lot of people is that takes time.
It does
and
take
patience.
time. Right.
And so much effort and like genuine effort. The effort isn't hiring someone to run a Google ad campaign.
That's right.
Right? That's like actually sitting down, being able to communicate, back to communication, communicate your message, communicate your vision, communicate your philosophy, and then repeatedly in different ways communicate it again and again and again over a long span of time to be able to then resonate with people where you've built a brand.
You can you come out on the road with me and talk to these folks? Because that's the conversation that I have, right? It's we talk about conversion, right? Everybody wants to see ROI. I get it, but it takes time to build your awareness.
But that's hard. Like I'll tell you through my experience, it's hard because obviously I do a lot on social media, and I've been doing a lot on social media for 8 years now. Yeah. Right? Consistently. Not as consistent as some other people. I don't say I'm like top when it comes to consistency, but like regularly enough for the past 8 years. And the first 4 to 5 years were a pain. Like they really were. They were a struggle because you'd feel like you're putting in so much time and effort and sometimes money into this and not seeing results, right? Not seeing results. So it's easy. I understand why people drop off at that point, but it's like trusting that this is done enough that it works. And it's like going to the gym, right? Yeah. You can't, that's for this particular thing. Yes, you can spend a ton of money on Google and you can see results right away, but it's expensive, right? So, building this awareness and building your branding will save you on your patient acquisition over, like, it'll bring everything down. But then how important is authenticity to the brand?
It's so important. We're medical professionals. Yeah. We're not, you know what I mean?
Because you can't keep up something inauthentic forever. Yeah. So it has to be authentic for you to just be able to do it forever, because it's just authentically what you believe in.
And it stems from what you're doing chairside with a patient. Yeah. And if it's not coming from there, that's typically not our type of client.
And that's maybe where I see a lot of people run into challenges too, where it's like they try to imagine what would be the most effective brand reputation to have, and then they try to create that where it's not authentic to them. And what I always advise people, like you said, like some people will see what I'm doing and maybe have some inspiration from it, and I'm like, sure, take inspiration from the concept, but make it yours, because that's the only way to do it correctly. And not everyone's brand will have to be super detail oriented and like the stuff that they see somewhere specific. It's finding what you enjoy. Maybe what you enjoy is making your clinic the funnest dental clinic that exists. Yeah. Right? And that's your brand. Your brand is that this is a place where you come and you'll have a good time at your appointment.
And good marketing, we talked about this already. It's about communication. Yeah. It's about properly communicating what it is that you're all about, right? And, informing that potential patient to make that choice. you might not be their choice, right? There's a lot of folks
and
out
you
there.
shouldn't be everyone's choice.
And the guys that are really enjoying their careers and things, their brand and things are on point. They have patients that identify that this is the spot for me. You know, they're coming into the practice as sort of, it's a good fit, right? Where it doesn't work is the transactional stuff. You see, you know, money dumped into Google. They get some orthodontic cases up and running, but what's the end game there? You know what I mean? Another big piece, we talked about the sales aspect. The sales aspect is your front end. That's your team. You know, the marketing piece is like bringing that traffic into your infrastructure. So there's a stat out there. If somebody clicks on something, identifies that this is a service or product that they want, if they don't get within 5 minutes, immediate sort of response in how to purchase or book, within 5 minutes, you're 22x less likely to have that patient convert. So, you know, your front end is the slickest. You know, how important has that been to build? Like, and that's a huge difference maker in bringing folks into the practice, and just that's kind of the next step in the journey. Like, what's your thoughts sort of on the front end piece?
There's two parts. One is a little bit left field, which ties back to what we talked about before, where what you're saying is very true in terms of like 5 minute X times number of conversion. That's when you're doing the transactional marketing you're talking about, right? That's if someone sees your ad on Google, clicks it, sees your website, fills in a form, that there's documented evidence that shows that the faster you reach out to them, because they're probably, to them it's a commodity. They're probably clicking on a few different websites and filling in a few different forms. They don't have specific trust built in with one clinic or another. So that's applicable to that side, which is still important, because you will have patients that just reach you through marketing avenues where they don't know your story, they don't believe in you yet, they don't trust you yet.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that. But I think it ties back to what we talked about before, which is when you've built reputation and brand, if you don't get to that 5 minute mark and you call them back in an hour, they'll still pick up the phone because they want to come see you, right? They've identified that your messaging, your philosophy is the right fit for them.
Yeah.
So it's not as critical, I found, with that aspect. That being said, we still, of course, rely on people that find us who have never heard of us before, through whatever means that is. And getting our team, I think, to understand the value of certain protocols that we have in place is the key. That's the key to setting any type of protocol, is buy-in, for the team members to buy into that protocol. And the best way to buy into a protocol is to believe in its value, believe on why it's there. Why are we supposed to do it this way? So we've been so lucky here at Transcend in how I've been able to develop this team. Because we're so different as people, and you probably notice that as you talk to different people,
100%.
So different as human beings and personalities. But there's this core that's so similar, which is our commitment to excellence. And that to me, when I'm interviewing someone to potentially have them join our team, that's all I'm looking for. Literally all I'm looking for. You can have no skill set when it comes to the thing we're looking to do. Of course, you have to have the qualifications and the credentials if it's assisting or something like that. But I'm not looking for someone who's worked with a prosthodontist and periodontist and orthodontist like we have in our clinic. What I'm looking for is someone who has that thing inside of them where they are fulfilled by striving for excellence. Because if that's what drives you when you're here, where it's we're going to be better every single day to get closer to this never-ending thing that we're looking for, which is excellence. It becomes so much easier to do the things you're talking about, which is set really clear protocol. If we get someone that submits an inquiry form, we have to get to them as immediately as possible. If someone sends us a referral, we want to reach out to them as quickly as possible. And then all of the different protocols that are set into place to make that experience for anyone contacting us as good as it can be. How
grateful have you been to have the team that you have? What does that mean to you?
If you were to ask me what is the one thing that I'm the most proud of out of everything that I've created at Transcend and just my career as a whole, I can easily, hands down, very quickly tell you that the answer is my team.
Yeah.
That's how much it means to me.
I'm not tooting your horn. I feel it when I walk through this door.
Yeah, and I genuinely mean that. That's the thing that I'm the most proud of, because I think that is the thing that is the most valuable. Yeah. Out of everything we've created, the thing that is the most valuable is the type of team that we've been able to create that aligns on this philosophy of uncompromising quality, motivation for excellence. And I think the way we've done it's also been very special in the sense that we're extremely hard on each other, because that's how you strive for excellence. You have to be hard on each other as a team. And I'm not just saying me being hard on someone, they're hard on me back, and they're hard on themselves as well within each other, but in such a positive and healthy way. In such a positive and healthy way where we're hard on each other because we know that it takes pressure every day to get better every day. But what we always talk about as well is every single person under this, in these walls, is good enough to be here, or else they wouldn't be here. And that's what I find is sometimes a lot of the challenge in this, where you're wanting to push your team to excellence, and that can be just demotivating, where every day you're trying to focus on the things that need to be improved, because that's what we talk about all day, every day, things that need to be improved. It can be demotivating because it's like, okay, well, am I doing anything right? And it's important for everyone to have that seed inside of them where that's a given. It's a given that you're doing a lot of things right. You being here is an indication that you are good enough. How do we now get better?
It's constructive. Yeah, I think you have to be, especially, the things that are thrown at us day to day, right? To be on top of the game with like knowledge, technology, and everything. You kind of have to be, or else it gets stagnant. And
you have to enjoy the progress of getting better. Yeah. I think. Like,
what do you guys do to have fun?
Well, we're going to Grouse tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
Snowshoeing as a team. Yeah. So we have team building events. Yesterday we had a half day. No, not yesterday. Wednesday we had a half day workshop, communication workshop. So we dedicate time to not just like social team building, like snowshoeing or going out for dinner or whatever it may be, but we dedicate at least twice a quarter. So at least every month or two. We dedicate a day to group development. So like I said, this week we did a communication workshop where we practiced and talked about how we can improve our communication skills with ourselves and patients. The time before that, we had a conflict resolution workshop where how do we get along as a team, where we're trying to constantly give each other constructive feedback for it to be understood and perceived as constructive rather than trying to put someone down. So investing time and effort into the team is how we have fun together, because again, we all enjoy that, but then we also get to do some of the fun stuff together, whether it be the study club dinners or, like I said, these retreats and things that we do.
Yeah, that's awesome. And these programs are outside of the dental industry, like these workshops, are they?
I do them.
You do them?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So I don't know if I've ever told you this, but my speaking career started outside of dentistry. I used to do soft skill training prior to doing anything dental related.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah. I'm not surprised. Like you're great. Like, yeah. Cool. How fun is, like, do you offer that? I guess that's kind of happening through the BC Study Club and the, Digital Dental Institute type situations. Like, I
haven't structured it yet into a program. Like, it's just something I do internally for our team. It is something on the list at some point to be able to introduce.
You have to grow another octopus arm out.
Yeah. But I think it's such a critical part of
100%,
of education, right? Like, and we get a lot of requests for it. Like, a lot of our study club members talk to us about their interest in team development programs, whether they're clinical skills for team members or all of these other things like soft skills.
The cohesion is like make or break. Like
within the team,
everything. I think everything, your messaging, your story, your brand, your genetic makeup as a clinic comes from how that's, how that's running. That's like your immune system. Like if that's out as a team, that's not a healthy practice. that's a formula for disaster.
And the thing,
I've seen it.
I've seen it too, and what I've seen is sometimes there's a misconception that that things will just fall into place the right way, and I think it's the only way for it to happen is intentional effort. Like there has to be intentional effort put into creating this kind of team, intentional effort put into accomplish these things and grow them and develop them within the team. It doesn't happen on its own. Like it's not just hiring the right people. It's of course adding the right people to your team, but then also intentionally putting in effort to create this kind of work culture and environment.
Yeah, it's like it's its own organism. Yeah. What else has been top of mind? Coming into this chat today, is there something that we're missing that you want to put out into the universe?
Nothing in particular.
Yeah. I've asked you a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Dug deep here. Faraj, I really appreciate your time. Thanks for letting me make a snake pit in your office here. This has been awesome. Man, I really enjoy chatting with you, buddy.
Too, yeah.
Give us something like in parting, like do you have any sort of inspirational quotes or anything that's top of mind right now? Like your uncompromised quality, that rings through my head. Is there anything else like that is sort of your mantra?
I would just say that being not faltering or not compromising. It's not just uncompromising quality, but not compromising on your vision. That's, if we go back to your question of what did I learn the most over the past few years, it's that is not an easy thing to do always, but it's like the most rewarding and I think most important thing to do, where it's like not compromising on your overarching vision. That doesn't mean not to have the flexibility to pivot and change. Of course, we've changed a lot of things that didn't go the way we thought they would, or we realized they shouldn't go the way we thought they would. So you have to have that sort of versatility and flexibility. But your overarching vision of why you are doing the thing that you're doing, I think is something to stand your ground on, and it just makes everything so much more enjoyable, even if it maybe takes a little longer or is a little more effort involved, but at least you're enjoying the journey.
I love it. Thank you,
Thanks.
friend.
Thank you, Mark. Yeah, good chat. That was fun.
It was, man. Yeah.
How long do we go for?
That was an hour.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. It felt like
by.
20 minutes. I was like, why is he cutting us short?
I know. I could keep going. I got to get a picture. Beautiful, man.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, man. I was looking forward to this one.
Yeah, let's do it more often.
Yeah, no, we should. Like, I'd love to do it on the regular.